Well, David Beckham was wearing a flat cap yesterday.
Oh, it turns out
Good enough for Beckham's, good enough for me.
Turns out David Beckham has indeed been taking style tips from Brian Mansell. You heard it here first.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Okay, so Rob Brady, when's the Liverpool shirt coming out? Well,
it doesn't fit at the moment. I've got a T-shirt though that says nobody wants to grow up to be a Gary Neville, which I could wear that one tomorrow.
Okay, I've got a Liverpool shirt. I might wear mine. Great, Sal can hear us. That's fantastic.
Good.
Lovely to have you all on.
Sorry about the no music this morning. We've worked out that when we're playing music and then broadcasting live, apparently Facebook's algorithm shuts it down for some people.
Yeah.
Depending on your browser settings and so on. So we've realised that as we're learning about tech more than ever before, some of the things that do and don't work. So hence that. And Sarah was going to get me to do a sing-song, but I won't subject any of you to that at this time of the morning.
I mean, I can sing for you if you want.
No, definitely not.
How are you all? Tell us in the comments, you know. I feel like, I'm listening. We're obviously keeping upbeat, but it'd be good to know how you guys all are and how you're getting on.
Yeah.
Morris Kilbride, it's all right. Okay, I won't wear my Liverpool shirt. I apologise.
Oh,
He's
Morris.
a massive Man City fan.
Is he?
He is. He is a huge Man City fan. So.
Oh well.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So let's get started because the time is 9:18.
Yep.
Good news stories.
Yeah. So good news stories. Obviously, there was a lot of stories yesterday because of April the 1st. Obviously, good news stories is you don't have to work for free, like I posted in the group yesterday. They're not. Boris Johnson is not about to do a blanket ban on all alcohol sales, which came out yesterday. Unfortunately, the one bit of bad news about yesterday is that EastEnders hasn't been cancelled. It's still going to run.
Brian has found a fake news site where he, after telling you all to not read fake news, he's found somewhere where he can make clickbait headlines, but it was only for April Fools, so we won't be counting.
No.
I've got a couple of other really good news stories. So I found out that this little guy in Yorkshire, of all places, don't know if we've got anyone on from Yorkshire, he's got a 3D printer as a hobby, and he started printing masks and protective clothing for carers in Yorkshire.
Protective clothing? How big is this 3D printer then?
Well, obviously it's pretty big, isn't it?
Oh, well, it's just not his little desktop one. It's taking hours to produce.
He's made a production line.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic.
That amazing?
Yeah.
You know, you hear about all the big businesses, but I'm all about the little guys. So that's really great. That.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic.
And more importantly, something that affects every single one of us. The FCA have actually issued some guidance on the banks now. I'm telling Brian this because I haven't actually spoken to him today.
Yeah.
And they've put some pressure on the banks. Basically, overdrafts up to £500, 0%.
Right.
Okay, so that your bank has got damn it, not 1,000.
Who's got a £500 overdraft? I mean, an 18-year-old with their first bank account probably.
But basically, so £500, 0%. And they're also saying that the banks have to give a credit card freeze as well.
Right, okay, that's good news. My bit of good news, serious good news, is check with your broadband supplier because apparently a number of broadband suppliers, the big ones, are removing all caps on downloads, on amounts you can use. So some people have a certain amount of data that they can use. So all the major broadband suppliers have been told by Ofcom to lift all restrictions on data for the coronavirus lockdown.
More binge watching.
So
what's this, Rob? Your brother has turned his workshop in his garden to create protective masks for the local hospital. That is incredible.
That's really good, right?
Really
that's brilliant. Yeah,
my
brother has been furloughed from being a financial director and has actually gone out to work volunteer for the Royal Mail to deliver parcels, which. I mean, absolutely. That's probably because he's got 3 very small kids and he can't bear to be in the house. I know that's what he's doing, but fair play to him as well. I'm gonna go muck spreading later on for free.
I nearly said something.
Just final point before we move on. I'm sorry to drag things out. I have completed the edit of my Phil Spencer location video but Sarah's been scaring me about whether or not I should post it online because of getting into legal trouble, which we can ill afford right now. So if anybody would like to see a copy of it, it's 5 minutes long. It's a bit nutty. I have to admit that myself. Then put a note in the
Shall
Facebook.
we put it in the group though? Because the group's private.
Oh, if the group's private, no, but people could share it on elsewhere.
No, it's private group. I don't think you can.
Okay. Well, just drop us a note if you want to see a copy of it. I did it for myself because I was bored on the weekend and I wanted to have a bit of a laugh. It is ridiculous. I can't do the voice properly, but I have done a professional edit on it. So if you want to see a copy, drop us a note in the group and we'll happily send a link to you. Okay, that's good timing actually because I did see that.
Because we wanted to talk today about tonality. Didn't we?
Yeah.
Because if you haven't seen this post that Purple Bricks have done, we'll post it in the group. And we just wanted to have a brief conversation about it because ultimately, they won't be able to see that, I don't think, Brian. Right. But in the best will in the world.
Okay.
But ultimately, it's interesting because there's kind of two schools of thoughts here and it's going to polarise a lot of people, their approach, but they've basically come out and said everything's okay, buyers are still buying, get your house on the market, and if you need to sell and it's urgent, use auction. And it just comes across like they haven't really thought it through and there's a significant lack of
empathy.
Zero empathy and zero fact, really. It's just a bit...
Yeah, it's when I read it, and I've read it a few times to make sure I wasn't just overreacting, and I've got nothing against any estate agent, and that's our profession, but I actually believe that the tone of your voice when you're speaking to somebody can dictate the outcome very, very quickly. Certainly, with many people at the moment in a highly emotional state, coupling COVID, the outbreak and the lockdown, coupling that with people's well-being, coupling that with the fact they're trying to move, which is an emotional experience at least hugely,
best of times.
Then we all have the limbic part of our brain, which is the front part, and that's who you're talking to. Think of it this way, and Sarah has heard me speak to hundreds of people this week. You're not talking to the person, you're talking to the chimp. And this leads into our book recommendation. If you haven't read it, it's an old one, probably one of the best books I've ever read, called The Chimp Paradox. But I'm going to drop that in a bit earlier because The Chimp Paradox is all about how our decisions are made 80-90% emotionally, but they always need to have a little bit of logic attached to it. And the chimp is in your head, rattling his cage, shouting, "Don't do it, that's a sales call, don't buy it," or "You should buy it," or "Go on, buy it." So at the moment, when your customers are in a highly emotional state, for the majority of them, that's who you're talking to, which is why your tonality in the written word, as much as your verbalization, the audible, and what people see, so it's the same thing, see, hear and read. Those things have got to be, I think, tweaked right now to be a little bit more empathetic than before.
I think it goes back to something we talked about last week, Brian. I don't know whether you'll agree with what I'm about to say, but ultimately, if you send out a social media post or you send out a letter or however you're choosing your form of communication, you should be doing it all, by the way, you don't know who you're going to get on the other end at the moment. The country is polarised. Many people have got very poorly families and friends.
Yep.
Other people are having real financial difficulties. Other people working maybe a tech business and they're booming. They've never had a better time. But you don't know who you're going to get on the other end. So you've kind of got to tread a bit more cautiously than you would do, usually.
I totally agree. But I think
also... Which is where Purple Bricks have dropped the ball.
Yeah, but also you think about this as well, right? So, I mean, you are potentially ringing people who have just had a fight with their kids because the kids are annoying or they've had a row about something. You just don't know. They're not going to answer the phone and go, "What the hell do you want?" But what people might do is they might be, again, as I say, in a heightened state of emotion.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think we've made the point. Be conscious. The Purple Bricks advert, the intentions, I can totally understand what they're doing because they want to drive some business, of course, like we all do. But there's no empathy in it. It's condescending. It's, you should put your house on the market. Don't be stupid. There's plenty of buyers out there, backed up with zero fact. So, there's plenty of stats out there where you can look at on property performance on your Rightmove accounts or your website accounts to show you what activity levels are taking place. Use some of these stats, buyers on your database,
not fiction.
Logic, okay?
Yes.
A bit of emotion. Maybe an FAQ is the right way to go. I would think about that.
Yeah.
Here's some questions that we're getting commonly asked by our current customers.
Yeah.
But always, think about mindful of the situation.
Okay.
Yeah, empathy.
But on that note, one of the things we also discussed was how almost treating now properties as a product life cycle. I hear that a lot of you are still getting requests for viewings, okay? Yeah. And we often look outside of the industry for inspiration. And we don't have to look very far. We were thinking about an Apple iPhone, right? Just briefly, weren't we? And we were thinking, if they were going to launch an iPhone in, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, the build-up would start now.
Yep.
So if we start thinking about our properties that we have got, our stock that we have got, and reinventing it and getting a waiting list and generating interest right now, so that when we are all freed from our houses, you can actually go out and get loads of interest straight away.
Yeah.
So pent up demand.
Yeah, supply and demand, right?
So there's nothing wrong, I think, our messages with generating interest in properties right now, but just managing it in a waiting list kind of way. That's, of course, if you can't offer virtual viewings, which I know many of you are doing. Things like watch lists, like you see on eBay, how many people are watching it. Things like waiting lists, and actually letting people know, we've got 4 or 5 people waiting to view this property. What a great conversation to have with your vendors to keep them with you. And also it means that you're still able to have empathy. I understand you probably don't want to view yet, or I understand you might not want to move yet, but let's keep the products alive, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really good. But the main message today is, tonality of what you're saying, what you're writing, what you're showing, how your team are. Your tonality with your team as well is very important, and with each other, don't forget. I have to be mindful of that. When Sarah's annoying me 24 hours a day, I have to be mindful that sometimes she has feelings that I have to be careful about, rather than just having a go at you all the time. But again, generally with your family and obviously with your customers.
I wrote that down there. Can you read it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not blind.
Sorry, I just meant my writing's shit. Rubbish.
Yes, I can read that, yeah.
Do you think they should be sending these out from a tonality point of view?
I think there's definitely... So Sarah's written down, and she's heard me say this to an inordinate amount of people recently.
That's why I mentioned it.
The government recently, I say recently, probably about a year ago, but they've updated it now, published a how to sell guide. For those of you that, most of you will know what I'm talking about. Those of you that don't, get yourself after this session onto the government's website. In fact, we'll post it.
We'll put it in a group. There's 2 really good stuff.
But the guide was written and it's been updated recently with new advice. But it is a guide. You'll all be familiar with the How to Rent guide, which has to go out to tenants by law. The How to Sell guide and there's a How to Buy guide. It's not a law requirement. It's not a legal requirement yet. It's not mandated by MHCLG, but it will be at some point. But it's really good advice. But it's telling customers to get working on their house while you're out there trying to market it in the preparation period. And that's where you've inadvertently, we've got back into the preparation period. There's 3 key periods. Well, there's 4 key periods for marketing a house: preparation period, marketing period, diligence period, close period. Right, and that's the cycle of a property. So we're in you're in the marketing cycle of people, and you need to get your customers into the preparation side typically and get them doing it now. Read the guide, tells you what you need to do.
Alex, in answer to your question, I'll share the PDFs of each of these things that we're talking about today in the group. I'll tag you so that you see it, and then you can print them off. I mean, they're relatively easy to print off.
Or take some information from there and cut and paste it. Make sure you credit the source, but quote it and use it and have sections, because there are some sections that won't be relevant right now. But there are some there. But have a read through and obviously use it as you wish.
Okay, and we are, as always, running out of time, but we're doing a little bit better today.
Yep.
So we've got recommendations today. So first of all, for the kids and the big kids, right? So I've got this app. It's called Mimo, M-I-M-O. And it's doing a free trial, and basically you can learn to code. And I think we've all learned that we'd quite like to be able to probably be in the tech arena right now. So can't stress that enough. It's a really good little app. It just, you start with the real basics, and it's daily learning of how to code. So absolutely fabulous, and they've got a free trial on at the moment. So I didn't realise he was the boss. I've been telling you guys for a long time I'm the boss, but apparently it's shifting. Right, learning. Very quickly, we're going to share this PDF as well for you in the group.
Yep. Yeah, zero moment of truth. This is Google's report on consumer habits when they're buying. Many of you would have heard this before. For those of you that haven't, Google's zero moment of truth, ZMOT.
I'll send it in the group.
7114. It rocks. Rob Brady will know what we're talking about here, and I'm sure many of you will do. But it basically shows you about the habits that people take before they make a purchase decision.
Which I think fits in with what we were talking about, having a product life cycle of the property as well. So actually, that's why we chose that for our learning today.
Okay, in terms of book, I forgot to talk about book yesterday, so I'm just going to go back to that one yesterday. I would argue I'm a big World War II fanatic, so you can't beat a bit of Stephen Ambrose and Brothers in Arms, Band of Brothers and stuff. But the recommendation today, this was my second favourite book of all time, my third favourite book of all time after George Lucas' autobiography. It's called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and it's the story of Nike. And it is I was very umming about it because it's American and it's about trainers, but actually it's one hell of a listen on Audible. It's a long one. But start it off, it's phenomenal, really good. They're going to make it into a film apparently, so well worth a listen.
I hope they do. Really inspirational. And binge watching. So this is a slightly different one because we've given you some really heavy stuff over the last few days. There's on Netflix a documentary called Inside Bill's Brain. And it's about Bill Gates, and it's only three long, so you can get it done in a night. But it's really fascinating and interesting about Bill Gates and what he does and how his brain works.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? Did you think it was crap?
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Okay, will you be the judge?
Answers on a postcard. We'll
Okay.
have a survey. Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Okay. Keep in good spirits. We're only at
Love
the end
you
of
all.
the phone. Goodbye. Bye, everyone.